Dear friends, respected citizens of Russia, I sincerely congratulate you on this holiday, the day of reunification of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Zaporeshye and Kerson regions with our great united country.
And that in just a moment. Good evening and welcome to Overtime. Vladimir Putin has declared major swaths of Ukraine are now Russian territory. This is essentially what he did with Crimea, and its effect was unfortunately quite profound. When he declared Crimea Russian, and it was a fait accompli, it was interesting to watch. It was like he was untouchable. He could walk through, at the time, the UN, and just sort of sail through, and nobody would touch him or approach him or say, "This isn't your country." And everyone just sort of looked at each other like, "Can he do that?" Well, I don't know. I guess he just did. So, and even Obama, of whom I was a huge fan, just was sort of, stunned into speechlessness and impotence. So we have now what appears to be a very similar situation. Vladimir Putin has declared, and started literally midnight Moscow time, went on air and declared this day, which is tomorrow, I believe, for us, the day of reunification, in which the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporeshye, and Kerson regions of Ukraine are now, in his mind, officially Russia. We are going to play that speech for you in just a minute. Once again, my concern is that he's going to go through the fait accompli, and he's already planning infrastructure projects. Now, he had referred to Lugansk and Donetsk as a People's Republic. This is because there was a vote held in those areas whether they wanted to remain Ukrainian or go to Russia, and it was overwhelmingly go to Russia. The problem is that the vote was held secured by Russian soldiers who would shoot anybody who didn't vote the right way, and all Ukrainians had already fled the country, those regions anyway. They were in occupied, held territories. You can't have a vote in occupied, held territory. It's automatically invalid. I'm sorry. It's not no. But since then, he has declared them independent republics, and so now he is saying that these republics have chosen to become part of Russia. So that's sort of the history of that. I am curious to see Donald Trump's reaction for all of Trump's authoritarian tendencies. He appears to be growing up a little bit. We'll talk about that. I have no illusions. He's not going to change in any meaningful way. He has announced a Mideast peace plan, which, for me, he could have announced he was having a bowel movement, and I would not have been any less impressed. But it turns out that a number of people actually really like this plan, and the only people who don't like this plan are terrorist organizations. We're going to get into that as well in just a minute. But that was a shock. So it seems he is so desperate to actually get a peace prize that he is taking the process of trying to make peace seriously. This includes, but is not limited to, telling Ukraine that he thought they could get all their land back, which was a stunner, and we covered last week. And at this point, pushing back, at least to some extent, on Netanyahu, who we're getting mixed reports on whether or not Israel has signed off on this plan. We know Netanyahu doesn't want peace. The problem is this plan gives him everything he's asked for. Again, we'll get into it. We don't know all the details of the plan. And Jeffries met with Trump earlier today to try to avoid the shutdown, and said the thing that he was most shocked about in the meeting was that Trump listened. We'll get to it. Let's start with the main story tonight, which is that as of this moment, Vladimir Putin has declared a day of unification to celebrate what he calls the bringing back of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporeshye, and Kerson regions of Ukraine into Russia. Please be aware that this declaration by Fiat is the same that he did in Crimea. It holds absolutely no international weight. I cannot fathom that anybody who is not a staunch ally of Russia would recognize this, but I think it's extraordinarily important because this is what he did in Crimea, and it worked with Crimea. People have been leaving, and this is again why we draw the distinctions to World War II, which is the idea that appeasing him and just letting him take what he wants and then he's going to stop there. And we've said this before, which is that if you give a bully your lunch money, it doesn't stop him. It just means he comes back the next day more hungry. And this is a playbook literally out of Adolf Hitler seizing Czechoslovakia, and then attempting to do the same thing with Poland. Let's hear what he has to say on the matter. This announcement aired midnight Moscow time. By the way, before I continue, and you'll see this in the comments, I would like to thank Greg Terry very much for making us aware of this and sending us this video so that we could air it and bring it to you. As you know, Greg Terry knows a lot about a lot of the subjects we cover, including the Middle East, but his specialty is Ukraine, and it was extremely thoughtful of him to send this to us. We sincerely appreciate it. Without further ado, let us play this video.
Dear friends, respected citizens of Russia, I sincerely congratulate you on this holiday, the day of reunification of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, Zaporeshye and Kerson regions with our great united country. 3 years ago, in referendums in Donbas and Novorossiya, millions of our compatriots freely chose their future, realizing a long-held dream. They made the crucial, fateful decision to be with their fatherland, with Russia, to return to the family they had always been part of. Together we did what we had to do, and we are proud of it. We supported our brothers and sisters in their firm, responsible choice. Today, defending this choice, our fighters and commanders rise to the attack as the entire country, all of Russia, wages a righteous battle and works. Together, we defend our love for the motherland and the unity of our shared historical destiny. We fight and win, defending core national interests, shared memory and values, the Russian language, traditions, culture and faith, our sacred right to honor the feats of our ancestors, generations of true Russian patriots, warriors and workers. Together, shoulder to shoulder, we will continue to build our common home, a great and independent country, a sovereign state. We will overcome any trials and only grow stronger. I know how hard it is now for residents of liberated cities and towns. There are many truly acute, pressing problems, among them the paramount vital issues for every person: reliable water supply, access to quality health care, and so on. We must not only rebuild what was destroyed in the fighting, but also fix infrastructure neglected for decades. That's why a massive program of socio-economic development, in essence a revival of our ancestral Russian lands, has been launched. The whole country, all regions of Russia joined in. Thanks to their direct involvement and federal support, over 23,500 facilities have been built or renovated in Donbas and Novorossiya since 2022. These include homes, schools, modern medical facilities, sports complexes and youth centers. Energy, communications, utilities and transport systems are being upgraded. 460 kilometers of utility networks and 6,350 kilometers of roads have been laid or modernized. There's still much to do, but we'll certainly accomplish all our goals. We'll provide conditions to unlock Donbas and Novorossiya's huge industrial, agricultural, scientific and cultural potential, so families can grow, raise children, and have more opportunities for education, creativity and career growth. On this Defender of the Fatherland Day, I especially address our soldiers and officers, the true heroes of our time. Thank you for your loyalty, valor, and courage in your challenging combat duties. I'm confident you'll ensure Russia's security. Lasting peace will return to the heroic lands of Donbas and Novorossiya. Together, we'll bring all our plans to life. Happy holiday, happy reunion day. Happy.
So that is once again. Oh no, we're not going to play that again. That is once again Vladimir Putin declaring this. Yeah, sorry, Titan. I hadn't gotten to Nightbot yet. This is Vladimir Putin declaring today, which tomorrow in Russia, Reunification Day, and he is declaring multiple regions of Ukraine now as fully reunified and integrated with Russia. Normally, we don't really concern ourselves too much with what Vladimir Putin says. He came up with that map that showed all of Ukraine as Russia, so on and so forth. But it's rare that he goes on and makes an actual announcement on television to the entire country, an address, declares an entire holiday, and says, that's it, these lands are ours. That's essentially what he did with Crimea, and again, it worked. Crimea is not his, but nobody has done anything significant to challenge his ownership of Crimea, and what's the line? Ownership is 9/10 of the law. So he is now doing that with areas of the, my understanding is, let me quickly double check on those regions. So, he has control, if I remember correctly, and this is from memory, I didn't get a chance to see this here, but he controls the vast majority of Zaporeshye, most of Kerson, and all of the Donetsk and Luhansk. I'd rather read it in Russian. Regions, and again, he has held the votes in those two regions, which were, something like 99%. Hey, we want to be with Russia, which shocked absolutely nobody. None of the people who live in those regions, they've all been either evacuated, forcibly removed, or fled as a result of the war. So, I don't know how this is going to affect Trump's special relationship with Putin. We've seen Trump be upset that Putin has not been willing to work with him on a peace deal for Ukraine, and now the fact that he has unilaterally declared that he owns these four regions, that they have been reunified with Russia, which technically they were never a part of anyway. They were part of the Soviet Union, but I don't expect Putin to care much about that nuance. We'll see Trump's reaction. I'm actually genuinely curious. Meanwhile, the deadline for the government shutdown is less than 48 hours away. J.D. Vance has said he expects that the shutdown will happen. He said it in such a way that suggests to me a glee in it. And the reason he would have this glee is because they intend to lay off huge swaths in some areas, 80 or 90% of the people working in those departments. That would be Department of Education, yada, yada, yada. Department of Education's already been laid off, I think, to numbers of that. At degrees for has already seen layoffs to that degree, but it's being dubbed online as Doge 2.0. If you thought Doge was bad, the layoffs once the shutdown begins is going to be catastrophic. So we believe that Trump does, in fact, want them. J.D. Vance appears to want them. The Republicans have offered several packages to try to, quote, incentivize the Democrats to vote with them on a continuing resolution to continue the government for a little while. But those packages deliberately include poisoned pills that the Democrats cannot agree to. This is allowing the Republicans to say, well, we're trying to be reasonable, and the Democrats are the ones who are causing trouble, when again the Republicans are deliberately putting in what they know are going to be non-starters with the Democrats. Jeffries met with, he's a minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries met with the president earlier today and said he was surprised by how much Trump listened to what he cared about. What he cared about was that the payments for the Affordable Care Act, the payments for Medicare and healthcare funding remain in the budget and in any continuing resolution. Every continuing resolution so far has cut all of those programs. Now, again, Republicans say we won't touch Medicare or Medicaid. The Affordable Care Act subsidies, while not technically, to the best of my knowledge, a part of Medicare or Medicaid, still are what allow people to get health coverage. And cutting these subsidies would be tantamount to cutting Medicare or Medicaid for many families. So Jeffries, according to one unnamed Democrat, actually seemed encouraged that there is a chance of stopping the shutdown. Again, I don't see, I don't see on what grounds that Trump would want to see this, at least if his priorities of cutting the government and the people who work at the government by 80 to 90%, this shutdown is exactly what he wants. Meanwhile, a number of GOP senators have oh, wait a minute. Sorry, nope, that's from another. Apologies, I started reading from the next thing, and we're not going to go there yet. So, let me quickly check the live chat, and I'm going to see where everybody is. I do apologize earlier. We had a stream. We had a phantom stream. I'll get that deleted, but my apology. We haven't had one of those in about 4 years. So, it's Dave. Let's see. I knew the Gaza peace plan. Trump has made a peace plan that, again, as I said earlier, nobody expected would work. The EU, most EU leaders have said that they are for the plan that he has made. 8 Muslim majority nations and the Palestinian Authority have said that they approve of this plan. That suggests that the only people who will object to it would be, and Hamas has said that they have the plan. They have not yet agreed to it, but they are reading it, quote, in good faith. The plan includes a number of interesting things. The first thing is an immediate ceasefire on all sides. It also includes the immediate release of all hostages. Well, immediate, 48 hours after Israel accepts the plan. Apparently, Trump and everybody who assisted in the writing of the plan expects Israel to be the last ones to accept it, which again suggests to me that Trump is starting to figure out what's going on. When Trump was talking about what Ukraine would need to win, you may recall I said Trump actually seems to be starting to understand the Ukraine situation. He seems to be starting to understand the situation here too. I am by no means naive enough to think that he's doing it because he cares. He may or may not. That's been a long standing, because he does seem to want to stop wars, but he definitely wants a Nobel Peace Prize. If he could do some kind of negotiated peace and save lives, especially the starving people in Gaza, he may well get it. This plan, obviously, he did not come up with. He doesn't have the intelligence to come up with it. But whoever did seems to have put some genuine thought into what would be needed for every side. And for Israel, they just want the hostages back. They'd be fine with a ceasefire. Netanyahu isn't fine with a ceasefire. We've discussed the how and why, and we won't revisit that right now. But Netanyahu does not want a ceasefire. If there's a ceasefire, he probably gets kicked out of office and goes to jail because he's already under indictment, and the fact that he's prime minister in wartime is the only thing keeping him out of jail. So he doesn't want a ceasefire if he can help it. This deal looks designed such that he's going to have a hard time saying no. Having said that, my suspicion is he's going to find a way to do it. If he finds a way to do it, or if he accepts it and then somehow tanks it, there's a misfire and a whole bunch of Palestinians are accidentally de-alived. He'll find a way if he can. But if the deal is as good as it appears to be, and again, we haven't seen it yet, it may be enough to go back to the protests. There are still continuing protests to get him out of office. They've been insufficient. The largest protests were about 3 years ago. You may remember we covered them live, and they were about 1 million people. And they burned down his house. So this deal may be sufficient to put him in a position where, and he has to be in an option lock. That's the only way he's going to do anything productive, is if he's in an option lock, and this deal appears to be an attempt to option lock him, which is to say that if he accepts the deal, war is over, he gets ousted as prime minister and goes straight to jail. If he does not accept the deal, civil war breaks out in Israel, the government gets seized, and he gets put in jail for even more crimes. So we'll see what happens with that. At any rate, for those of you just joining us, Putin has declared 4 large regions in the southeast and eastern Ukraine to now be unified with Russia, and has declared today a holiday, Unification Day, and has encouraged his people to celebrate. He has talked about the rebuilding they have already done in those regions, all of which is utter BS, but he has talked about the building he has done in those regions and the future investment that will be needed to help the former Ukrainian, now Russian brothers and sisters get running water and all of the things that they need. This is, as usual, propaganda, but unfortunately is the same playbook that he used in Crimea, and it worked. What effect it's going to have in the EU, Ukraine, and other countries, we do not yet know, but it was absolutely worth breaking. And once again, I would like to thank Mr. Greg Terry and his channel, The Greg Terry Experience, which I'm hoping somebody can drop. We should have it linked in the description, for sending us that video and for notifying us of this story. It was very helpful, so thank you, sir. All right, our next scheduled show, yes, I said it, our next scheduled show is Tuesday, 9 p.m. It is going to be an in time with myself and Azandring. However, we are likely to go live sooner as we know, A, what is said and what kind of transpires at the with the generals and admirals meeting, which, by the way, they are now, the President of the United States is now going to be at that meeting. So on Tuesday, Hegseth meets with every admiral and general in the U.S. military in Quantico, which, in my view, I don't care. They're going to have, but they're going to have the sky like F-16s, F-35s, the whole 9 yards over this. I don't care. All it takes is one rogue, you don't put them all in a room like that, and now the president is going to be there. What we have seen is it looks like they're going to have a presentation on the warrior ethos. And I think what they're going to talk about that we're starting to get is, warriors look like this, they act like this, and it's going to be very much about, and again, this is concerning because this is dictatorial. Here's Hegseth is a former Fox News anchor, and he's going to be lecturing generals and admirals, many of whom have seen combat, on what the warrior ethos is. but we believe that this is going to be a segue to saying the warrior ethos does not include anyone who is overweight, anybody who is gay, anybody who is trans, anybody who doesn't look and or walk the part. Whether or not they're going to include any mention of the possible necessity for local deployment in the United States to combat domestic terrorism, we don't know. I had previously been leaning towards we may see at least a mention of that. We haven't seen any right now, so we'll see. But if something happens there that we need to cover, we'll go live, and either way, we'll be talking about it on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll also be talking about the shutdown and what the probable effects of that will be, not the least of which is a significant slowdown in the federal court system, meaning anybody who objects to anything the Fuhrer Trump does will have a much harder time either getting injunctive relief, even if it's just temporary to stop illegal activities by this administration, or some kind of just I mean, imagine trying to get Garcia back had the government been shut down, and it would be 3 times longer to get any of the court orders through. It's going to be interesting in this country. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you. By the way, Linda S., real quick, let me hit that. Linda S., thank you for your 5 in-time memberships. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Put a lot of effort into getting these shows together and into fostering the relationships like with Greg Terry, who once again really was very gentlemanly in getting us this information, because this is the kind of stuff that we do. He knows that, and so again, thank you, Greg. So have a good night all, and we look forward to seeing you at our Are we going to do Sage? Should we do bets on whether or not we can get through the credits without breaking news? And we've been on the verge of breaking all day on the Gaza peace deal, and the reason is we know almost nothing about the Gaza peace deal, but everybody who's read it. Oh, and I think I failed to mention it. It includes quasi-autonomous self-governing in Gaza, which is another thing that Israel does not want. They say they want. Actually, Israel doesn't care, I think. Netanyahu says he's okay with, but the reality is he doesn't want. He wants to control it for security reasons and then eventually absorb the entire thing. Whoever wrote this deal that Trump is putting forward, so Trump gets... Listen, I'm not trying to undermine, presidents don't usually write their own peace deals. But whoever did write this took it seriously, and Trump is putting it forward seriously, and I would imagine is jeopardizing his special relationship with Netanyahu, too. Next thing, if things keep going like this, Kim Jong-un isn't going to shake hands with Donald Trump. I mean, Jesus. I mean, then what? We'll have to break out my signs of the apocalypse, because this was not on my bingo card. All right, folks, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you again, Linda, for the 5 memberships. We really do appreciate it. Have a good night, all.